Good morning. I am back from my travels, but we are still with Paul on his travels. The wedding was perfect, and when I get some good photos, I'll post them for you guys. So we're with Paul. He's on the high seas, and things are not going well. He has warned his companions that staying in the harbor that they've made it to is a good idea, but it's not a very big town, and the sailors and the captain really think, they need to get to a bigger town. The ship that he's on, again, reading Barclay, is a large cargo ship. And it probably is carrying corn. So they've got a large cargo ship that is headed to Rome to sell its goods. And that's the ship that the passengers, that the soldiers and the prisoners have gotten a berth on. And so here we go. Again, Paul tries to convince them to stay put, but they don't. When a gentle southerly breeze came up, they weighed anchor, thinking it would be smooth sailing. But they were no longer out to sea than a gale force wind, the infamous nor'easter, struck. They lost control of the ship. It was a cork in the storm. They came under the lee of a small island named Clauda, and managed to get the lifeboat ready and the reef sails, but the rocky shoals prevented us from getting close, and we only managed to avoid them by throwing out drift anchors. The next day, out on the high seas again, and badly damaged now by the storm, we dumped the cargo overboard. The third day, the sailors lightened the ship further by throwing off all the tackle and provisions. It would have been many days since we'd seen either sun or stars. Wind and waves were battering us unmercifully, and we lost all hope of rescue. With our appetite for both food and life long gone, Paul took his place in our midst and said, "Friends, you really should have listened to me back in Crete. We could have avoided all this trouble and trial. But there's no need to dwell on that now. From now on, things are looking up, and I can assure you there'll not be a single drowning among us, although I can't say as much for the ship. The ship itself is doomed." Last night, God's angel stood by my side, an angel of this God I serve, saying to me, "Don't give up, Paul. You're going to stand before Caesar yet, and everyone sailing with you is going to make it. So, dear friends, take heart. I believe God will do exactly what he told me, but we're going to shipwreck on some island or other." So Paul hits the highlights. We're going to make it. The ship is not. And his faith and his charisma are amazing. I mean, you have to figure, as William Barclay, the Study Bible says, this is a really large ship. And so there's a good amount of sailors on this ship, as well as the Roman soldiers who were taking these prisoners over to Rome. And Paul he's the one who knows what's going on. He's the one who is going to assure them that even though they've been in the midst of a nor'easter, even though they've tried to make it to an island, but the reef was made it impossible to get close to the island. And even though now they've been out to sea for days and nights with no sun and no stars, it's okay. God's angel came and stood by me and said, "We're going to make it through the storm." I like that. And he, in his assurance, says that the stuff we got, the ship, of course, they've already dumped the cargo. It's lost, but our lives are going to be okay. Hi, guys. Good to see you watching. So this travel narrative is really pretty straightforward. There's no great concepts or ideas here, except that Paul had said, let's just stay where we are and not try to get to the bigger port. But everybody else felt like they knew better. And so as they do that, they get caught in a mess. I know that story, thinking we know better, and we'll just go ahead and try our best and get caught in a mess. Also, that as they continue to do this, as they continue to try to be out in the storm, thank you, sweetie, they just are, they've got nothing. Again, first century, you don't have a compass, you don't have a sextus, you don't have any idea of where you are. You've been battered by the wind and the rain and the storm, and they've offloaded the cargo, they've offloaded anything basically that they can get off the ship. And it was interesting reading, again, William Barclay's study of this. Apparently, they've also what called tackle the boat. So because the boat isn't, again, it's just a very kind of rudimentary boat, they've kind of wrapped it with this rope, almost to help tie it together like you would a package, to help it to make through the storm, because it's on the verge of breaking up. And in the midst of this, Paul says, it's okay, we're gonna make it. They're not eating, you know, again, I don't get too good on a motorboat out in the Sound. I can't imagine how sick these people are. I mean, physically, nauseously sick, being tossed about by this storm. And for me, I think the wonderful gift of the passage is Paul's words of assurance. We're going to make it through. God's angel stood by my side. God's angel said, we're going to make it. The boat, not so much. It's okay. All the stuff is gone. But the human beings here, the ones who are here, are all going to make it to safety. And God has assured me of that. And I trust in God, and so it's all good. I'm thinking he wasn't all that convincing to people who had not lived a life of faith, but he spoke those words in the storm. And, spoiler alert, next week we find out that he did actually make it, and he did make it to Rome. But I guess for me, life has been pretty tumultuous lately. Lots of storm clouds ahead. But I believe in Paul's words too, that God stands by our side, and in the midst of storms, God's love holds us up and holds us fast. Thank you. And it is God's grace that continues to guide us. So I'll just say on this live video that Nathan's wedding was absolutely perfect, and I was just happier and had a great time. After the wedding on Sunday, I had to share with him, as I shared with my churches the previous Sunday, that they have found breast cancer. And so tomorrow, I thought it was going to be earlier this week, but it's tomorrow, I start chemotherapy, because it's a particularly nasty, aggressive little cancer cell that likes to travel. So they're going to flood my body with chemicals and try to kill all of them before they take out the lump that's in my breast. But I have so many people praying for me, and so many sweet people just all around me, that I have felt held up, and I haven't even started yet. So again, I believe in Paul's words, in the midst of the storm, any storm we face, that we can trust in God's grace for each day. Maybe the boat won't make it. Maybe your stuff will be kind of decimated. Maybe the medical bills will be really high, which they are. It's all good. God's grace is here. And we can have faith and believe in God's ability to see us through, God's love to hold us up. And Paul proved that in his trip to Rome. And I hope that we can prove it too in our lives day by day, as we continue to hold fast to God, believe in the promises of God, and find joy. That's my goal, to find joy in every single day, no matter what's happening, because God's in my midst, and God's loving me. God's loving you too. So thank you guys for watching. I'll hopefully be back next week, but it's all kind of unknown to me at this point. Thank you for watching. Love you.